Volume 2 for Season 5 of Stranger Things just dropped a couple days ago on Christmas Day. I, like probably the majority of you, watched all 3 episodes that night, so I'm going to share my thoughts, concerns, and hopes for what will be the finale of this show. This is obviously going to be some spoiler talk, so if you have not watched these 3 episodes, go watch them before you listen to my thoughts on it, because I am going to get into what happened in these new 3 episodes. So right off the bat with these 3 episodes, the biggest thing I could take away from them, especially compared to the first 4 from this season, is they didn't feel like they were building up the same way as those first 4. The Volume 1 episodes definitely felt that like they were building towards something that was going to be pretty, intense and cool. And while I do actually like these new 3 episodes, I was entertained by them. I thought they were good overall. The biggest complaint I have is it just didn't feel like they were really progressing towards something that was going to be this big finale. There is a lot of exposition. There's a lot of buildup. There's a lot of setup in these episodes, and that's totally fine, but that just means that in this finale, there's got to be a big payoff, because otherwise, what are we doing here? For the first 4 episodes to feel like it was building towards something better than these 3 episodes, it's very strange, and I don't really get that aspect of these 3 episodes. Because if you want to talk about like the last season, the penultimate episode before the finale, you have that nice, awesome buildup of a ending where you have everybody getting together, and you have that awesome version of Separate Ways by Journey playing over, the last couple minutes of the episode, and it sets everything up so nicely for the finale. This didn't quite give me that same feeling, because with that, I was super pumped for it. Here, I'm just kind of feeling like, hey, hopefully this finale is going to be good. Because like I said, I still enjoyed these episodes, but it just feels like there's a little something missing here building up to this finale. Now, there were some pretty big moments of note in these 3 episodes that definitely need to be discussed. For one, the breakup of Jonathan and Nancy. It was inevitable. I think everybody kind of saw this coming. The fact that she even went out of her way to say, I can't be with you. I don't want to be with Steve. This has nothing to do with Steve. It's great. She's going to go on and do her own thing. Absolutely cool. I actually do like the scene between the 2 of them. I think both actors do a good job in the scene. It's a little overly long of a scene. Maybe they could have cut it down just a little bit, but, I do think it worked well. It was a nice kind of finality to their relationship, and everything there, I thought was fine, but them kind of like in a situation where they're about to die, and they basically just, air out all their grievances and everything. It was a little interesting, to say the least, but I think it still worked well for the most part. Another big thing in these 3 episodes is we have finally the return of Max to her own actual body. It's not just her in the mind of Henry Vecna 1, whatever the fuck his name is. We actually have real life Max. She comes back finally, and she gets a great moment between her and Lucas when she finally comes back into her body, sees Lucas there, and, she tells him that it wasn't just the Kate Bush song that brought her back. It was Lucas, and the thought of him and the thought of losing him is what brought her back. That very touching scene, I absolutely loved it. Probably one of the best moments thus far in this final season, because I've always been a big fan of Lucas and Max together, so seeing them finally getting to share another moment together was really nice to see. I love the build-up to that in episode 6, where you have him, Robin, and her girlfriend Vicky running from the Demogorgons, or the Demodogs, excuse me. I thought that was a pretty cool action sequence. Not crazy about the way that it ends with Mrs. Wheeler coming in and blowing them all up. Like, it's a cool moment for her character, but it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, oh, she overheard on the loudspeaker that something's happening, so she's going to come out and save the day. Like, I guess, like, it's one of those things that, like, it's a cool moment, but at the same time, like, did we really need that to happen? I don't know. But it's one of those things that, gets the characters out of the situation that they're in, because who else is going to save them? Nobody else really knows that they're in this situation except for Mrs. Wheeler. But, I digress. We do see some interesting stuff with Holly and Vecna and all the kids in the mind of Vecna. All that stuff is slowly progressing to something that I hope does have some sort of, big payoff, because now they got all the kids banding against Holly because she's the only one that sees Vecna for what he actually is. He's even convinced Derek to, go against Holly as well because he's threatened to kill his whole family. And that kind of sucks because I do think Derek gets a little shortchanged in these 3 episodes versus, when he was introduced in the earlier 4. He doesn't get as many big moments here, but he gets a couple little one-liners that he gets to throw out, but we don't really get a lot of the fun that his character had in those couple episodes from the volume 1. I am curious to see what they're going to do with Eleven and Callie. Her character is just kind of all over the place. I don't really know what to expect from her. It seems more than likely she's going to backstab Eleven in some form or fashion, whether that means she's working with the military or if she's working with Vecna. Somewhere, somehow, I feel like she is going to turn on her and everyone else. Hopper kind of like not being on the same page with her the entire 3 episodes. It's very funny because he definitely sees something not right in her, and I kind of have to agree with his character. I think she's just going to end up being, a foil in the end, which I kind of hope because I'm not a big fan of the character, and honestly, I'd rather see her get taken out in some fashion than end up being a hero, kind of out of nowhere, but we'll see what happens with that. And the biggest thing from these episodes, of course, is the thing that everybody's been talking about, the scene where Will finally comes out to everybody. I personally like the scene. I think the scene is a good scene. However, I don't like the way they went about it. The placement of it is super awkward because they're all getting ready, tooling up, and about to go out on this final mission, battle, whatever you want to call it. And he just has to, bring everybody together real quick to be like, hang on, guys, I got to talk to you for 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you that I don't like girls, which is totally fine. Again, I like the scene. I like the moments he gets with his mom, Jonathan, and his friends. All that is very touching. It's very nice. But it just feels awkward that the whole episode comes to a screeching halt for him to do this. Had they placed it at another point in the episode, it would have worked a lot better. But for it to be like on the tail end of this episode, the penultimate episode leading to the finale of the show, and him just having to pull everybody aside for 5 minutes to do this, it just doesn't feel quite right. But again, it's a good scene. It just needed to be placed at another point in the episode, and it would have worked so much better. But I think that's about it really for all the big moments from these 3 episodes. Like I said, they're a little underwhelming compared to the first 4 just because they don't feel like they're really progressing towards something big. I do like all the stuff that we find out about the Upside Down as far as it not necessarily being just another dimension where their world is flipped upside down. We find out that it's actually there's a bridge or a wormhole between their world and this other world that Vecna has created or whatever, and basically he's wanting to merge the worlds together, all kinds of stuff like that, real sciencey stuff and talk. That's cool. I like that there's like this whole new thing going on with the Upside Down that we didn't really know about. That's a cool thing to throw out. I was hoping they'd maybe flesh it out a little bit more, but I get it. You only have so much you can really put into these episodes. That's all I really have to say about Volume 2 of Season 5 for Stranger Things. Like I said, I liked the episodes. I just don't really know what we're building towards just yet. It's going to be interesting to see how this finale plays out. I think it's clocked in at just over 2 hours, so hopefully that's enough time to really delve into a lot of stuff. Hopefully we get some good action sequences. Hopefully we get some good final moments for a lot of these characters. Yeah, that's all I can really say about these episodes. If you have had the opportunity to watch them so far, let me know what you thought about them in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more reviews, rankings, and I will do a final video for the finale next week after that premieres, so be on the lookout for that. But until next time, guys, I will catch you all later.